The Hindu Succession Act 2005 was enacted to remove gender discriminatory provisions in Hindu Succession Act 1956. Under the amendment, the daughter of a co-partner shall by birth become a co-partner in her own right in the same manner as the son and have the same rights and liability as a son. With the coming of the Hindu Succession Act in 2005, daughter, daughters got equal rights in their ancestral property, in their ancestral assets. As per the amendments done in Hindu Succession Act in 2005, if the father died before 2005, a married daughter will not have any right over ancestral property, while the self acquired property will be distributed as per the will. But now, as per the Supreme Court's latest judgment in Vinita Sharma versus Rakesh Sharma case, which was delivered on August 11, 2020, daughter's right has increased on her father's ancestral property. The latest decision of the Supreme Court on right of the Hindu daughters to ancestral property corrects an obvious anomaly in the interpretation of a crucial 2005 amendment to the Hindu Succession Act 1956. In other words, it has rejected the common misinterpretation that only daughters of co partners who were alive on that day could get an equal share in the property. The court has rightly recognized that the amendment conferred equal status as a co partner on daughters in Hindu families governed by Mitakshara law, and this right accrued by birth. The change came into effect from September 9, 2005, but with the provision that partitions or testamentary disposition that had taken place prior to December 20, 2004, the date on which the amendment bill was introduced in the Rajya Sabha, will remain valid and unaffected by the change. This led to the interpretation that the daughter's co-partnership rights, being prospective, would not come into effect unless both co-partner, father and his daughter, were alive on September 9, 2005. The verdict settles the question whether the co-partnership right of daughters come into effect only if the father through whom they claimed that right was alive on the day the amendment came into force. The apex court has now categorically ruled that daughters' rights flow from their birth and not by any other factor such as existence of their father. Now this is a very important point to note that daughters' right flows from their birth. That was not earlier. Now we come to the Karta, the most important person of the Hindu joint family. The eldest male co-partner in joint family is considered to be the Karta, and the Kartaship is acquired by him per se because he is the eldest male member. His position is sui generis and he has the fiduciary capacity upon the other co-partners. Joint families headed by a Karta is normally the eldest living male member of the family. The father of the family, and in his absence, senior male member of the family will be Karta of that family, of the family. Unmarried daughters can also be Karta of the family in case of unfortunate death of her father, or if he is suffering from any physical or mental deficiency. Where a couple has only one daughter and the husband pass away, the mother-daughter duo can continue the Hindu undivided family. Although a problem may arise after she gets married and becomes a member of her husband's HUF, it is after 2005 amendments by which women have been given equal proprietary rights in ancestral property. Now, even women can be karta after this amendment. The most important qualification required to become a karta is that the person should be co-partner in the family. That is the most important. A person from outside or outsider of the family can't be karta of that family. Person should be member of that joint Hindu family, should be co-partner of that joint Hindu family. More than one karta. Is it possible? Yeah. Two persons may look after the affairs of the family, as held in Union of India versus Sri Ram judgment. This authority is based not on any Hindu law, but on the members of the family who confer this authority on them. It's a family's discretionary power. It's their judgment to whom they confer this power. There cannot be two kartas of a joint Hindu family, but karta or members of the joint Hindu family can be express or implied terms confer authority on junior member to look after the affair of the joint Hindu family or its business and to take all necessary steps for the smooth and beneficial management of the business and to protect the interest of such joint family business. So in this way, there can be one person can look after equally as the karta look after the family. In this judgment, it was held that two persons may look after the affairs of a joint Hindu family on the basis of the members of the joint Hindu family, clothing them with authority to represent the family. They would be two persons entitled to represent the family, and their power to represent would depend upon the terms of authority conferred on them by the members of the joint Hindu family. Their authority to act for the family is not derived under any principle of Hindu law, but is based on the members of joint Hindu family conferring certain authority on them. It cannot, therefore, be said that when two such representatives of a joint Hindu family sue and obtain a decree in their favor for the benefit of the joint Hindu family, and an appeal is filed against both of them as respondents representing the joint Hindu family, the other representative would continue to represent the joint Hindu family on the death of one of the representative. So it is not under the Hindu law, but it's a family's power, family's discretionary power. So they can treat another member of the family as a karta. Can minor be as a karta? Yes. As regards junior male members, as long as a senior member is present, they cannot be karta unless all the co-partners agree to the junior member occupying managerial position. It's a family's its own decision. It's a family's discretionary powers to whom they confer the right or whom they don't want. If it turns out that a minor is the only one left to be a manager, he can, as long as capable guardian represents him. Section 21 of the Guardians and Wards Act 1890 recognizes the competence of minor to occupy a managerial position in an undivided family. In the judgment Narendra Kumar versus CIT, it was held that so long as the members of a family remain undivided, the senior member of the family is entitled to manage the family properties, including even charitable properties, and is presumed to be the manager until the contrary is shown. But the senior member may give up his right of management and a junior member may be appointed as a manager. Father as a karta. If the manager or the Karta is the father, he has certain additional powers of alienation under the Hindu law. And in exercise of those powers, he can alienate joint family property so as to bind the interest of his minor son in such property. Property belonging to a joint family is ordinarily managed by the father or other senior member of the family. It's very natural, grandfather or father. Normally, these people are karta of the family. So in case of a father as the karta, the debts for which the property is alienated may not be for the benefits of the family, provided they are antecedent debts not tainted by immorality or any illegality. What was held in this judgment and Subramaniam versus Krishna Swami? If the manager and Karta is the father, he has certain additional powers of alienation. Hindu law, and in exercise of those powers, he can alienate joint family property so as to bind the interest of his minor sons in such property. Different roles and duties of Karta. Karta is a very responsible position. The person who is Karta is laden with so many responsibilities, so many duties. So the manager of the joint Hindu family is called Karta, as we described. He is not an agent or trustee of the family, but as the head of the family, he is the custodian or guardian of the property and affairs of the family and of the interest of the family. The Karta of the joint Hindu family is certainly the manager of the joint family property, but undoubtedly possesses powers which our ordinary manager does not possess. Karta therefore cannot be just equated with the manager of the property. Being a manager of the property is much easier than to be a Karta, duties of Karta. Actually, Karta is called manager of the joint family. This is when there exists a family business, or if it is trading family, there has to be a manager to take care of the proper functioning and supervision of the business. But Karta of a family has to take care of all the day-to-day going issues, all the family businesses, all the family property, and any other issue of the family. He has to take responsibility of all the issues those belongs to that joint Hindu family. Rights and obligation of Karta. Karta has some peculiar rights and obligation. Of course, a person who will have responsibility must be conferred with rights also, otherwise he will not be able to perform those duties. So Karta has some peculiar rights and obligations under traditional Hindu law. He has the power and duty of superintendence of how to run the joint family, how is getting what, who is getting what, how the members are being maintained. Of course, he has to take care of all those things. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for him. So he's entitled to dispose of the property in times of dire need or necessity. He can exercise these rights in any manner he thinks fit, as long as it's for the greater good of the family. Along with such great power, he has a number of liabilities, such as maintenance of family members and keeping proper accounts. Karta has power to appropriate income of joint family and dispose the income accordingly. Karta is accountable to co-partner for joint family property and income. However, he cannot be bound to account for his past dealings unless a partition has claimed and a charge of fraud or misappropriation has been alleged against him. Karta has power to alienate property. The Karta represents his joint family on all matters, whether they are religious, social, or legal in character. He acts on behalf of the family, and his acts are absolutely binding on them. The joint family has no corporate existence. It acts on all issues through its karta. An undivided Hindu family is ordinarily joint not only in state but also in food or worship. Therefore, not only the concerns of the joint property, but whatever relates to their commensality and the religious duties and, observances must be regulated by its members or the business manager to whom they have expressly or by implication delegated the task of regulation. In this judgment, Radhakrishna versus Kuluram, it was held by Supreme Court that the Karta can enter into any transaction on behalf of the family and it will be ordinarily binding on the members. Whether in a particular transaction the manager purports to act on behalf of the family or in his individual capacity, one has to see the nature of the transaction and the purpose for which the transaction has been entered into. A manager does not cease to be manager merely because in the transaction entered into by him, a junior member of the family who was a major or believed to be a major also joined. This can be further described in next coming slides. Legal position of the Karta. Karta can file suit or take other legal proceedings to safeguard the interest of the family and its properties and businesses. Where a transaction purports to have been entered into by two or more persons described as kartas or managers of the joint family, they must all join as plaintiffs in the suit. However, it is not necessary that all members of the joint family should join in suit. Karta can represent the family effectively in proceedings even if he has not been named such. These are the few cases which explains Karta's position. An adverse order passed against the manager requiring him to deliver the possession of the property to another person binds the other members of the family, though they are not parties there. Whatever order passed against the manager, against the Karta, will be binding on all members of the family. Either they are parties to that suit or not. As per the Venkataro versus Tuljaram, he can refer any dispute to arbitration or can effect settlement or compromise of such disputes. Karta has power to take decision, so to refer any dispute to arbitration or any settlement or compromise. He has that right. As per the Pitam Singh versus Ujgar Singh, the reference may be in respect of disputes between the family and an outsider or disputes between the members of the family themselves. Example, as to share and partition compromise entered into by the manager bona fide for the benefit of the family binds the other member of the family including minors. Position of Karta regarding income, position of Karta regarding debts. So there's a lot to explain about Karta. I will take this topic again in my next lecture. Thank you, friends.